Today I unboxed a brand new palm sander that I had gotten previously. I didn't get a chance to use it, but since we're doing this work on the wheel and I wanted to make some adjustments to the wheel, I thought this would be a good time to demo how easy it is to make that palm sander work, and we did. And I actually got some of the grinding and sanding and paint removed from the wheel, got it reprimed, and it's by the end of this video it's ready for the next coat of the custom mix paint that we're mixing using 4-to-1 mix and paste pigment. And I'm very excited to see how this is going along. I think I'm closing in on having a major gain in the way I paint the wheels. We'll see. Now, all during Craig's visit, every day has been different. He's been coming and doing things with us, helping me around the house. He did a lot of cooking. We had a great pierogi party, among other things. But he wants to go visit some of his friends today, so it's going to give me a little time to do some prep. I don't know how long. He hasn't told me yet. I kind of like it that way. I like that every day is just a little different than the other day. I just totally hate Groundhog Days. Now, we went to visit Craig a couple of years back in Denver. I took some pictures. Some were on this video, or in the next couple of days I'll share them. I got to dig them out of the computer. It snowed like there was no tomorrow. No, it's unbelievable. So with Craig being here, it reminded me I haven't done some of the things around the yard that still have to be done before the first snow. I got to trim the tall grasses. I got to make sure the snow blower starts. That's all. When you have a 25-year-old snow blower, it's like having a 76-year-old grandpa. You got to see if it starts in the morning. Even though the weather's warmed up today, normally if Craig were not here, this might even be a riding day after lunchtime, but well, you know, I want to be here when he gets back. And I'm really excited about testing this paint on the wheel and doing what amounts to be a real world test. What I want to do, and maybe I'll get to do some of it today or tomorrow, I want to take some part of that wheel down to bare aluminum. Then I want to do the equivalent of a real world test. I want to see if I want to put the primer sealer on, because I'm afraid any of that powder coating, and I think it's powder coating, but I'm not sure. I'm going to try to take most of it off, but I know from having done the R1 wheels, you don't really get it all off. There's always some in the corners and edges. So I want to make sure, and I want to make sure that I haven't painted myself into a corner here with this new paint I'm trying to use. I want to do it on a wheel that if it doesn't work out, I'll turn the wheel over and do the other side. I want all that technology and all, because this is experimental stuff. It's not something I've ever done before. And when I have it that I'm very confident in it and it's going to work and I'm going to like it, I can hold it up next to the MT-09, hold it up to the R1 and say, yes, I like it, no, I don't like it. But if I don't like it, I have enough paint left over from the R1 to just replicate the color of the R1 wheels. And even that, I've had the two bikes out in the driveway side by side. Even that I'll be happy with. So I'm going to try to use the day efficiently. But again, at this point in the day, I don't know where it's going. Now, one of the things I got in the habit of many years ago is in the beginning of the winter, the day I get the snow blower out of the shed and get it, make sure it runs and do all that stuff, which I'm going to do in the next day or so. On that day, make sure I have a full thing of gas for the snow blower, because we have surprise. You wake up in the morning and there's snow all over the place. So one of the things I think is, for me, it works. I don't know if it's there's other better ways to do it, but before the real winter gets here where we're snowed in, and I know there's no chance we're going to ride, I always try to get a good, and I'll do each one of the bikes separately. Only takes a minute, pull them out, get some chain lube on the chain. The reason is, I don't want to, when the springtime comes and I want to take one bike at a time out and start getting the pitching rotation going. And many times when I haven't done that, I've looked at the bike that's been sitting at the end of the, and I take it out, and I look, and a big part of the chain is rusty because it isn't covered with oil. And I guess another thing, you could just take a rag with some oil or some WD-40 or something, but the chain loop seems to work for me. And because the chain on this bike has been so good for so long, I don't want to compromise it. I don't want to get to the spring and it's all rusty on one side or anything. And I think another thing, and I do this all the time and I try to share the information, I'll wait until now there's bikes that I haven't ridden in a month here because this has been dominating my life here. So what I'll do is we'll get a warmer day, maybe even 40 degrees. I'll take each one of the bikes outside, run it for 10 minutes, just to get oil moving in the engine, burn all the moisture out of the exhaust. It's just good maintenance in the winter. And of course, the biggest thing, keep all the batteries on charge, and I move that charger 2 or 3 times a day. So every other day, in the worst of all worlds, every third day, the batteries get topped off. Now the video I posted yesterday had the end of the Motorcyclepedia little episode on it. And again, thank you, Dale. That was a wonderful tour, wonderful video. And at the end of it, I put that little thing with the Vincent, and I saw Bob Navola, the late Bob Navola, and I said, my God, how we miss you, Bob. I can't even say it without a tear in my eye. Bobby, rest in peace. Now, another thing I try to do before we get snowed in here is get a good coat of wax on the bikes, especially aluminum parts. An example, the parts of the GS engine. And what will happen, because of the winter, everybody that's got a bike like this knows that little fuzz grows on the engine from the moisture and drying out, freezing, drying out. And it's good protection to just get a good coat of wax on everything before the real winter gets here. We've been, this is not the real winter yet. I know what the real winter is coming, and this is not it. And then no matter what, in the spring, I'll repolish everything as I use the bikes one by one. And hopefully we'll have a whole nother riding season ahead of us. But boy, we had a wonderful year. It's just been a spectacular year, and the cherry on the sundae was having Craig here for a visit over the winter. Now time for some coffee, and then we're going to see how this day plays out. Every day is different. So I don't know how much of this I'm going to get done today, but I want to take some part of this wheel and bring it down to bare aluminum. Maybe even in here would be the best thing, because that's easier to get in there with the wire wheel. But I want to be on raw aluminum so I can simulate the whole thing. The sealer primer, which I know goes over, hopefully goes over whatever coating is on there, man. I think it's powder coating, but getting that done. And then I can try the next time I have some time to paint, mix up a batch exactly like I'm going to do on the MT-09. Paint that, and maybe even get some of the side painted. But you never know. I don't know how the day is going to play out, but I don't want to waste this little bit of time I have. There's certainly a lot of good ways to remove paint when you want to get it off. Paint remover comes to mind. Acetone comes to mind. Sometimes that works. Sandblasting, bead blasting. There's a lot of different ways. The wire wheel gets it off. Most of the time it's relatively easy. But today we're going to use our little palm sander to good advantage too. But I wanted to do this trough where the wheel actually sits. I wanted that to be absolutely bare aluminum if I could get it that way. So I used a combination of wire brushes and sandpaper on the little power tools. But I really wanted to check out our little palm sander, number 1. And that really worked like it always does, very well. Now I got a lot of the material off with the tools, the grinder and sander and everything, but in the end I want to just put a nice etch on this with I think this is 180, but it's rough paper. I want to etch it and get a coat of the primer sealer on this and kind of let that dry overnight, because we're not going to be able to mix paint today. But we will be able to get a coat of primer on, if everything goes right. In the end, the thing with all this sanding and grinding and everything, and we're going to be doing a lot of it to the MT-09 wheels, because they're castings, I want it to go right down to a raw casting, raw aluminum, not go over some 40-year-old paint so I get a kind of invalid feedback on everything. I think this is going to let me do it. And I'm going to try to use the primer sealer instead of the self-etching primer, only because I know that at some point in time I'm going to have to go over some part of that coating that's on those wheels to begin with. I'm never going to be able to get all of it off. So I thought another exercise we could do with this is I could share some of the information for how to repair some of these things. And this is basically paint that doesn't like the paint that's underneath it. And who knows if that's the paint that's 40 years old or not. I'm going to just try to sand that down. There's a couple other spots on here. There were a couple of runs, which I don't care about. Here's a run. We can get rid of that. And the edge here, where we'd like to have a nice edge for the whole wheel. But as a test part, this is going to serve my needs just fine. I don't need to make it perfect. I'm not going to use it, we're not really going to use it, and if I were going to use it on the RD, I would just strip it down or paint remover everything off and go down. I don't want to spend more time than I have to. This is really just a test piece, and some of these errors I want to try to fix. It's relatively easy to do it. What I need to do is get this level and then primer sealer. Get it level, primer sealer. I can do a lot of that with the machine sander. Well, since we're always trying to share useful information, this is a useful tool. I bought a new one when I was down in Harbor Freight the last time. I know the one I have is going to die in the middle of a job, and I don't want it to die on me, so we start off the season with a brand new one. And we don't really even need that. Don't need that, don't need that, don't need the plastic bag to keep a salami sandwich in. This is, and it's got the Velcro on the bottom, it's about $15 to $20, depending if you have coupons or they're on sale or whatever. And it is a super, super handy tool for just what we're doing right now. And we're going to use it for sure on the MT-09 wheels. Now, to be honest, I never really found the filters to be real effective, but better than nothing, I guess, because we're working inside. But this is one handy tool, and you buy the equivalent thing right at Harbor Freight, various grits. This is really saves a lot of time and work when you have a project like the wheel project. So I do have various versions of this. This one has kind of got a lot of mileage on it, and what happens, I don't want to be in the middle of doing something and have to stop what I'm doing and go to Harbor Freight. Not to save $15, so. And it's a good chance for me to put a review on, and they work great, by the way. This one I've had for a lot of years. It's good for getting in little tiny areas and spots, but you know the best thing is if you have them both. So I'm getting my tools out. The sandpaper comes, various grits and sizes, hook and loop, 80 grit, 120. So we're going to start with something I guess the roughest. I don't really care. We're not going to be putting a final finish on this. This is just to do a prototype to finish with the paint that has the pigment in the 4-to-1 mix. That's the real, and I want to see how that's going to go over self-etching primer. That's the purpose of this test. Now what this will do, it'll allow me to get a nice flat. I need to get down through that alligator skin, and I need to get the self-etching primer to do its job correctly. I've got to get almost, or down to, in a perfect world, down to bare aluminum. But as opposed to hand sanding, this is a lot less work, an awful lot less work. And we can also take care of the runs this way. I believe this is 120 grit, but it's not critical because we're priming it. As I'm doing it, I'm looking. No, this one has a run. Okay. You could take a sanding block and do this by hand, but the tool is so much less work. I work over a towel, so all the dust is going to fall into the towel. I'll go outside and shake it out. Minimize the amount of dust that I have in the house. Now if I take this and just dump the dust, that's exactly what's going to happen. It would be nice if I could do this outside, but I have to be honest, it's a little too cold out there. I'd rather be inside. Okay, so what I need is now a paper towel. And I need to just look at and feel if I've got any loose edges coming up before I prime this. But I think I've got most of it under control. Got rid of the lumps, the runs. Let's see how the edge is. Actually, the edge is pretty good here. I'll blow this out with compressed air, but here's what I want to do. I just want to take a piece of, let's see if I can do this. the way I want. Small piece of sandpaper. And just go along the edge, clean this up. There's a couple little lumps there. The idea of this is to show in real time, not with something, some other way, how that little sander works. It's a great little tool, and I wear them out. They're so good. I guess if you bought the more expensive one from, I don't know, some non-China one, it might last longer, but it'd be a lot more money. And it's nice having a new tool every once in a while. So even this little hand sanding here, this is going to make a big difference when I put that primer on. And there's no amount of time you can spend doing this that's enough. You could do this endlessly. And on that MT-09 wheel, we're not going to take any shortcuts, because I really like having the wheels be the focal point of the motorcycle. That is, and people in the custom car world, I think they're on board the same way with that whole thing. All right, I got to take this outside, blow it off with compressed air, and we're ready to prime it. So I want to blow everything off with compressed air. Any loose stuff, get it off. Make the test a little more valid. So the most important thing to remember, what I'm trying to do is use primer sealer. Usually you would put this over plastic or old paint, anything you want it to seal. Well, I'm sure when I do the MT-09 wheel, there'll be little spots or maybe big spots of that material that's on the wheels now, which I think is powder coating. Another trick with this, with any primer, use up the old can on something like this test wheel that we don't really care about. We're not going to try to make this wheel a usable wheel, and save this for when we're going to be doing a final prime that we're going to go over it with paint. Two good tips. Most important thing, shake, 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 and when you think it's done shaking, shake it some more. Always an advantage to have two light coats, not one heavy coat. So we'll let this dry a few minutes between coats. We've got some of it we're going over older paint, some we're going over raw aluminum. I wanted to have both choices here. Now, an advantage of using this primer might be that it'll be easier than going over the self-etching primer, which is green, which is like army color. May use less paint, and we're trying to minimize the amount of paint we use. That's one of the objectives of the whole test. Sorry about the wind noise, but can't help it. The objective is to get light coats on. We got, I think, 2 coats on everything on this side. Now, as this is drying up, Karen just came out and told me Miles is coming to visit me. So I guess we're going to be painting this tomorrow or the next day. And Craig's away with his friends. Miles is coming to take his place. We always have some good action in the house. Yeah, we'll put this aside to dry overnight, get back to it tomorrow. But now it'll be ready. Actually, it'll be ready for that final coat of silver that I really am interested in seeing how it's going to look. And then I'll clear coat it after that, and we'll really get to see what that finish is going to look like. And I can hold it up next to the R1. Hey, I'm really starting to get excited about this. But family stuff always has priority. Now it's time to put it in the garage. Let it dry overnight. Now, it's not really predictable when I'm going to get a chance to do that silver, but just getting this part done gets me way ahead for the next session. Because I have Miles here, I can't really put any painted stuff in the house, and it's above freezing, just a few degrees, but this will dry in the garage. Now also, final thing, this part of the wheel, we were down to bare aluminum. This part of the wheel, we had sanded some, but not everything. any edges, and we didn't take out all the runs or anything, but this is going to give us a real good feeling for. Now, I originally thought there's a chance, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it. I'll try up to a point, but I wanted to try to eliminate the primer and have the 4-to-1 go right over the wheel. I don't know if I'm going to do that yet, but it's on my mind as something worth trying. Anyway, this wheel, we have learned so much from this wheel. And it's funny, if you go back on the videos, because we try to post something every day, I thought I had one of these spare wheels. I have 5. And the fact that I have 5 spare wheels means I'll never bend a rim, never bend a spoke, never chip the paint. It's uncanny. But a future project, maybe years from now, is to make a set of gold or silver wheels and just keep these. I don't know. I don't know. It's always in your favor to have spare parts. And doing the custom wheels is one of the parts of motorcycling. My passion for motorcycling. Maybe it's yours too. I don't know. And for the people that buy a bike and don't enjoy customizing it, we still could be friends, that's for sure. You gonna beat me up on these games again?
I'm not playing.
You're not playing, huh? No shoes?
I'm playing a single player.
Oh, is this a casual visit?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to sand motorcycle parts for me.
I'm planting carrots right now. I'm serious.
For the name of the town is Freezington?
Yeah.
That's what I am when I go motorcycle riding in cold weather. I go to Freezington. Freezington, New Jersey. Well, like every day this time of year, you never know where the day's going. The day went well. We had a great time with Miles. Well, he had a great time. I'm not so sure he beats us at these Pokemon games, and he enjoys, kind of rubs it in, you know, like he's MotoGP and I'm learning how to ride. Or worse. Anyway, we're going to try the pigment test. We have the wheel prepped and drying in the garage. The primer's drying. Next time we get some time to spray, we're going to mix up another test batch, spray the wheel, and then clear coat it and see if we're happy with that. We'll be ready to be painting those MT09 wheels. So this was a pretty nice day. I don't have any regrets about it, the way it played out. I did get to see Miles a little bit and take a Pokemon beating. And we got to walk around the town. We walk around playing this game. And anyway, another thing, we did get to see Craig. I don't want to underestimate that. And I did get to make some progress on my painting of these MT09 wheels, which is going to be dealt with on the channel in future videos. We do try to post something up every day. And we do try to invent things as we go along. A lot of this stuff doesn't work. I try to always make that, you know, part of my priority is, and when something does work, I try to share it. That little palm sander is a great little tool. One I think should be in everybody's toolbox. And the MT09 is basically the focus of our whole winter coming up. The customizing season, it'll all be on my channel. So if you enjoyed the video, I hope you share it with your friends. And of course, I hope, most of all, that we'll see you tomorrow. And thanks again for watching.